to go and solve this problem for other women and other working parents in the marketplace as well.
Like, it's not just about earning income, it's about the sense of accomplishment.
I really need to protect my time and my family so I can give the best to everyone.
That impacts other people in a very positive way. Welcome back to I Can Fit That In. Today's guest, Reena Vokoun, is a powerhouse in the women's wellness space, blending purpose, entrepreneurship, and personal transformation into everything that she does. Reena is the founder of Passion Fit, a wellness company on a mission to empower women to thrive in all areas of life, physically, mentally, emotionally, and professionally. She is also the author of The Wellness Empowered Woman and Wellness Evolved Woman, part of a transformational book series available in many formats. With a background in corporate marketing at Google, Reena brings both strategy and soul to the table. Today, her work helps women reconnect with their purpose and design lives that reflect both ambition and alignment, some of those big things we talk about on this podcast. In today's conversation, we will talk about the real cost of pushing through, the mindset shifts that make wellness sustainable, and what it looks like to evolve beyond achievement into wholeness. Whether you are leading in the boardroom, in your home, or in your own inner growth, this episode is packed with insights to support your next evolution. So let's jump in. Reena, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Erin. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today.
Oh, me too. So I thought, what a great place to start. I mean, you and I have in common a couple of things. We're both mothers of boys, right?
Yes, definitely.
And we both spent a lot of time in the corporate space and are no longer in that. So where I thought we could begin is walk us through a brief snapshot of your professional journey, and not just what got you into what you do today, but where you came from in that journey.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, academically, I was already studying business and marketing, graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison in the School of Business, where I double majored in marketing and management. And then I went on to graduate school at Boston University, where I have a master's of science in advertising and communications. So definitely, loved the corporate world. I worked for some Fortune 500 companies, as you mentioned, like Google, as well as Yahoo, Reebok, and GE. And I really loved my career. I mean, I had the ability to really focus on sort of the creative side of things, understanding products, pricing, promotion, understanding people, and how to create emotional connections. And I got to work with some really great clients. When I was with Google, I worked with Disney and Fox Sports and LA Times and the Chicago Tribune. So really got to understand different industries as well, such as publishing and entertainment. When I was with Yahoo, I worked in the automotive and the travel industries and had clients there. When I was with GE, I was part of GE Capital, so I really got exposure to the financial services industry. And then at Reebok, I got exposure to retail and, sponsorships and working with athletes and fitness marketing. So it was just a really amazing, exciting, fun career that took me literally all over the country, even in different places across the world. And I absolutely loved it. And I did it for about 16 years.
Yeah, that's a long time to be in it. Now, what was that turning point or that pivotal moment where it made you start to rethink or perhaps realign how you are living and working?
Yeah, so there were a couple things that were at play. For me, health and wellness has always been a passion of mine. So I started teaching fitness classes for the University of Wisconsin-Madison Athletic Center when I was a freshman in college and taught two
Awesome.
classes a week. Yeah, all 4 years. So I really enjoyed it. It's honestly where I really got comfortable with public speaking because I was teaching classes of 250 students at a time. And so I always had that love for fitness. I was on the dance team. I did cheerleading. I had all of that background, played a lot of sports growing up. But I also had an interest in things like nutrition and behavior change and mindfulness and meditation. So throughout my corporate career, I was, going to health and fitness conventions for fun on the weekends and pursuing certifications and training. So that was sort of always happening sort of on the side as a passion. But really where the light bulb went off was in two different times in my career. One was when I was working for Reebok. That's where I loved getting to work on, the women's running shoes and women's apparel products and getting to work with athletes and getting that whole kind of mix of marketing and digital media, but also the health and fitness that I loved so much. So I thought, wow, I could actually take my training and my professional background and combine it with my passions. So that light bulb went off, but it wasn't until later in my career that I was able to kind of really take that and put it into play. But then also during the time that I was with Google, I had worked there for many years. My husband, as I was telling you, Erin, earlier, he came from management consulting and he came over to Google as well. So there was this period in our life where we were both working in Silicon Valley. We lived in the Bay Area at the time, two young kids at this point. Our older son was a toddler, our younger one was a baby. I had come off of maternity leave. I had just been promoted before I went on maternity leave. So it was a little bit overwhelming because my husband was working 100 hours a week, no lie there,
Yeah.
and traveling about 70% of the time. And then I was also working about 50 to 60 hours a week and traveling 25% of the time. And as much as, my husband is a great partner and he was trying to do his part, I think for both of us with really busy careers in tech in Silicon Valley with two young children, it got to be a lot. And we both hit a point of burnout. And I think for me personally, I had, the mom's guilt, wanted to be more present and more engaged with my kids, but still had a lot of ambition that, was not necessarily going to completely go away with becoming a mother. So I think that was the point where I felt like, something's got to change. And I was already traveling, up and down the West Coast, sometimes to the East Coast, but my portfolio of accounts that I was managing, because I did a lot of business development, marketing, and sales, was about to at this time increase to a national level. And I just thought,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think logistically, with how much my husband travels and with our kids being so little, I just don't know how this is going to work. And again, in the background, I'd always had this vision for doing something with health and wellness. And I knew that I was not the only one that was probably struggling with that balance, especially women and working moms. So it took me 2 years, honestly, to get the courage to leave Google and to start from scratch and start this venture. But I hit this point where the conviction was so deep, the desire was so deep to one, get myself back on track, get out of burnout, get out of some of the health issues that were starting to develop because of lack of sleep, not eating healthy, not exercising, and being in this constant mode of stress. So I wanted to figure it out for myself and my family, but I wanted to go and solve this problem for other women and other working parents in the marketplace as well. And that's when my company Passion Fit was born.
Yeah, well, thank God it was, because I know it's helping so many women with the same situations that you described, that burnout, that lack of alignment, and the desire to continue careers that are fruitful and honestly that really are commensurate with the energy that a woman brings to her career, because the value exchange is that livelihood, increase in livelihood that you get from that, right? Like it's not just about earning income, it's about the sense of accomplishment, and it's about feeling confident in your own skin, feeling good about what it is that you're contributing outside of the home, not just in the home. And it's so important for women to have careers. I mean, many women choose not to, and that's great too. But for those of us that want to continue having careers, to be able to do that intentionally and to stay aligned and not have to work at the expense of our own well-being. And I know you and I were talking before the podcast. I mean, that is something that I suffered with drastically for years, and also took it upon myself to figure it out. I was like, geez, why is it that I always feel this way internally? And yet I look around and it seems like everyone's just kind of got this happy life, or they've got their shit together. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? Like my life looks great on paper, but why does it not feel great every day? And until we take the reins and really start to ask ourselves deep questions and find out what it is that we're actually after, it's hard to change anything, or what I would say change anything drastically, because it's what's easy is to take on a new routine and say, well, I'm going to work out at 5 a.m. 3 days a week, and that's going to make my life better. You know what? That's going to add a lot of value to your life. It's going to help. It'll definitely help shift your mood. It will help you physically feel better, but you can only sustain it for so long. You have to actually take on some of the mindset work, the emotional work, and some of the inner transformation in order to make something stick. So let's talk about that. I am so curious from your perspective and your own lived experience, as well as that with your clients. What are some of those non-negotiables or those rituals that you enact in your own life and you see others enact in theirs that really do bring impact and longevity to how people are changing their lives for the better, changing their well-being for the better?
Yeah, I think it really starts with being able to create some boundaries, and that's not always easy to do. I know for me, I am a people pleaser to a fault, and I've been working on that over the years. I think you just raised your hand there. Yeah, it's not easy to do because you don't want to let anyone down in your family at home. You don't want to let your, employer down, your boss, your teammates, all those things, and others in, your friends and your community. So I think part of it is just being able to recognize that if you create some boundaries just so that you can take care of yourself and replenish yourself, because then you're going to be more able to serve all the people in your life that you want to serve. And the more you deplete yourself, it's just going to kind of chip away at you day by day, month by month, year by year. And before you know it, it's kind of like that feeling that you had and that I
Yeah.
had. Like, why do I feel this way? I don't feel aligned. I'm exhausted. I'm burnt out. I'm developing health issues. My immune system is suffering and
Mhm.
something's got to give. So I think it's
Right.
creating that boundary and just being able to have those conversations. I think for me, by the time I got towards the end of my corporate career, before I became an entrepreneur, I started to
Yes.
become a little bit more brave and confident to, say what I needed to my manager. Like I, put together a proposal to go to 80% after my second son was born. And I had a flexible-ish schedule for tech. I mean, I was still very much working 150%, working a lot of
Right.
hours, but I was able to at least have some more control over when I worked and when I could tend to my kids. Now, in the end, I probably ended up, I took a 20% pay cut, 20% vacation cut, and I was still working very much full time. But at
Mhm.
least that was my first step in voicing what my needs were. And over time, I was able to say, you know what? I really need to protect my time and my family so I can give the best to everyone. And then it comes down to some of your daily practices. Like for me, exercise, meditation, meal planning and healthy eating and sleep are some of them. And then, being able to express myself, whether it's through journaling, whether it's talking to my husband or calling up my mom or my girlfriends and just having people to talk to about how I'm feeling and giving them the space to do the same has really been
Mhm.
helpful for me. So I
Right.
block time on my calendar. It is color coded when I'm exercising, when I'm sleeping, when I'm meditating, and I've just really learned to protect that because I know that I will be able to be so much better as a person and as a human, a mother, wife, all the roles that I play when I create those boundaries and I have those wellness practices set in place.
Right. Oh my gosh, it's so true. Boundaries are everything. And,
Ah,
I think boundaries historically have had a lot of negative connotation around them because the way that we've come at them has been very skewed. We've come at them from a mindset that is, boundaries are bad because it is cutting people out of your life or it's pushing people away or it's being cold and detached. And I know you probably do a lot of this work with your clients, and I know I certainly do. We have to reframe that and teach people that boundaries are about respecting yourself first and foremost. And then when you do that, the way that you feel about yourself and the way you feel about the life that you are leading shifts. And when it does, that impacts other people in a very positive way without even trying, right? Because the
mhm.
way that you show up is going to be more full and more whole. You're going to have more to give, not less to give. So it's not that you're cutting things out or people out, it's that you're putting these pieces of respect in place that teach others how to respect you, right? And
Absolutely.
that is a crucial thing for people to learn. And so when I say that, what comes to mind with some of your clients and when they first start to learn about creating boundaries and that self-respect that comes along with it? What are some of the things that they say about that?
Yeah, I think, there's always a little bit of fear, right, at the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
Change is scary, change is hard. You're always, again, if you are a people pleaser like us, you're
Yeah.
always worried about what everyone else is going to think. And to your point, you don't want people to feel like you are cutting them out of your life, which is not what you're doing. So I think what I
Right.
try to do is help them understand that if those people in your life really care about you, including your employer or teammates or other people outside of even your family, they're going to respect the fact that you need to take care of yourself. They're going to want the best for you as well. And when they can see how present you are with them and just how much more energy you have for them, I think they're going to appreciate that. So it's sort of looking at, okay, where are you now? Let's do a self assessment. What are some of your fears? What are some of the barriers that we need to work with you to get over? But then what is the end result going to look like? How are you going to feel? How is that going to improve your health, your energy, your
Yeah.
relationships, and your outcome, right? And your productivity, not just at work, but in every aspect of your life. It does
Right.
create a ripple effect when you just slice that little bit of time for yourself so that you can, again, replenish and then help other people. And if you're
Right.
lucky, you will have a partner. Like my husband and I both will recognize that in one another, where you know
Yes.
what, you seem like you're exhausted. You take a break. I'll deal with the kids. I'll do this. Go get in a workout or go take a nap or take a walk or whatever it is that you need.
Right.
You should expect that necessarily from your significant other. If you can do
Yeah.
it for each other, great. But I think each individual also needs to be able to do it for themselves and raise their own hand and say, I need to take a time out. And I think for, I don't want to generalize, but I think for women in particular, because I work with a lot of women, that's my target client base, is that can be really hard. But I think once you get over that barrier and you see all the improvements that start to take place in your life, you're going to be more willing to sort of put your foot down and take that time for yourself.
Yeah, it's so true. And what comes to mind for me is that you're an author, I'm an author. I have a book coming out in November.
Oh,
And
congrats.
during that process of writing my book over the last year, there were so many times where I found myself slipping into old patterns, right? Because we're human. And as much as we are healed and evolved and conscious and all the things, we still have these tendencies to fall back into the old comfort zone or the familiar zone, as I like to call it. And
Mhm.
my husband was so great in calling me out and saying, geez, you're writing a book about the very things that have helped you and have helped so many other people that you've worked with. And now you're falling right back into the patterns. And I'm like, you're right. Like I literally haven't walked in 2 days. Like that is not like me. And so I have got to carve out that space. And even if I'm in the flow, I will still be in the flow because I'm not breaking it. I'm just stepping away to, fill myself back up. Right. And I
That's
think we get into those rigid mindsets where we think, oh no, it's this or that. And that's not true. So with your books, first of all, I want you to tell my listeners about your books. And secondly, did you have those kinds of things happen to you throughout your writing process?
Absolutely, yes. And it happened more with the second book, especially, and I'll tell you about that and the listeners about that in a second. But
Yeah.
yeah, to answer your question, the first book, The Wellness Empowered Woman, is really all about how you can become empowered in the first place in your wellness practices. Because what I've definitely learned through my own life experiences and working with hundreds and hundreds of clients is the fact that wellness really does need to be at the center of it all. Because if you are physically and mentally and emotionally not in a healthy place, and you were talking about mindset earlier, if you
Yeah.
don't have the right mindset, it is going to have a negative impact on so many other areas of your life. So when you can recognize the need for prioritizing what you're eating, how you're sleeping, how you're moving, how you're handling stress and anxiety, which is again inevitable, being human, we're all going to experience it, but how do
Right.
we deal with that in healthy ways? And how do we create those habits that then
Mhm.
serve us well in our careers, with our families, with our volunteer work, and all the other things that we
Right.
do? So I cover a lot of topics around holistic wellness in that first book. And then I get into some deeper topics like perfectionism. I have a chapter called Perfect is a Dirty Word. I talk
Yeah.
about, fear of failure and, why community is so important. And
Yeah.
really getting into the things that I think can often seep into our brain and to our emotions and can affect us. I even talk about, comparisons and all those things and why it's so important to be in competition with nobody but yourself. Just focus on being
Right.
better today than you were yesterday, right? So
Yes.
that's all about the empowerment. The
Yeah.
second book, The Wellness Evolved Woman, is all about, okay, now that you understand the importance of wellness, how it impacts your health and well-being, physically, mentally, emotionally, professionally, even spiritually. Now
Mhm.
what happens when you have your first baby? maybe your
Mm.
second baby, maybe you move to a new city, maybe you change careers, maybe there's a death in the family, maybe you go through a global pandemic as we all did 5 years ago, and life is just so different from what it was. In those moments, and as you are changing and evolving as a person, how can you allow your wellness practices to change and evolve with you? Because in those times when everything kind of changes or falls apart is when we probably need those wellness practices most. But that is the time, and I've seen it with myself, I've seen it with my clients, is when we
Yeah.
let go, right? Because we don't have time, we're too stressed, we're too fearful. And so that's kind of what the second book is about. And the second one focuses even more on mental and emotional health. It focuses
Mhm.
on self love, tapping into your own authenticity. And I think for me, what I struggled with during that time was, I'm in a season of my life and career where I've, been in business now. I've been an entrepreneur for it's almost 11 years now. At the time that I
Wow.
was writing the book, I was about
Mm.
to hit my 10-year anniversary. So it's kind of like, okay, where am I with the business and with the brand? And have I helped enough people? And what's the next decade going to look like? And then
Mhm.
personally, my husband and I have been married now for over 21 years. Our
Yeah.
older son is literally going away to college
Oh my.
Santa
Yeah.
Barbara at the end of September. Our younger one is starting high school. So as a parent and as a mother, we're in this new season of teenagers. The older one is leaving the nest. Empty nesthood is not that far off, in the horizon. And
Yeah.
so it makes you think about so many aspects of your life that are changing. And so here I'm writing about evolving in life with change, and I was struggling with it. And I said to
Yeah.
my editor, I said, how am I supposed to write this book and give all of these people advice when I myself am struggling? And my editor said, that's the beauty in it,
It
because
is.
yes, you have the training and the understanding of what needs to be done, but you yourself are human. And so you're
Yeah.
learning as you go, and you can share that because that will allow your readers and your audience to relate to you even more. It makes it more authentic. And once
Right.
I recognized that and she helped me understand that, then I could kind of get over some of my own writer's block and hurdles and just write
Yeah.
freely from the heart and kind of let everyone know none of us have it all figured out, right? We're
No.
all just trying to go through this life experience together. So how can I help you even through my own learnings, trials, tribulations, and challenges as well?
Yeah. And I think that your editor gave you great advice because what people do connect to is the soul, the energy, the emotion that comes through lived experience,
Yeah.
right? So you can have all the credentials in the world, but then you have someone who has the lived experience and the ability to tell those stories. And that is all day long going to resonate with more people and more deeply than the credentials will, right? So I could not agree more. And I went through the same journey. It's like, geez, when I felt like I needed to do it perfect and it needed to, it needed to follow this story arc and everything needed to just be like so perfect. It's like, no, wait a minute. What if I just write from my own stream of consciousness, which is my heart? And if
Yes.
I allow that energy to move through me versus trying to force it, what will happen? And so, anyone that's listening who wants to write a book or anything for that matter, even just an article you want to put on Medium or LinkedIn, keep that in mind to really just allow yourself to write the words without trying to control them and see what happens. You'll probably be pleasantly surprised.
Fantastic.
So, Reena, what is one truth that you want my listeners to know about time, energy, intention, any of the above that really fit the mold of when we talk about fitting in what matters most to you and how you can do that in a way that is aligned with who you are. What do you want my listeners to know?
Yeah, I mean, I would say we all know, and again, with, my kids getting older, my parents getting older, just life moving ahead, we all know that time is finite, right?
Yeah.
But what we do with that time, when we look at our energy, energy can be finite, but it also can become infinite when you think about when it's coming from the soul, when it's coming from the heart, right? That never stops. And so,
Right.
how can you take the amount of time that you have in any given stage of life, in your life in general, and look at your energy in a way that you can maximize it? And the
Mm,
way to really do that is to be intentional about all of the different things that you're doing in your life, how you spend your time, how you learn and grow, how you treat others, how you treat yourself, what
yeah.
you tell yourself on a daily basis in terms of your mindset, and really taking care of who you are emotionally. So I think it's taking things that are out of control, like time. There's only so much time that's there, but what we can control is our energy. We can control our intentions and just how we go about our life. And again, from my perspective, it's to really value your health and wellness, because I said this in my TEDx talk, without our health and wellness, we have nothing. But when we
Yeah.
have our health and wellness intact, we have everything and anything is possible. So just remembering to come from that center place, I think it can really allow you to maximize the time that you do have and really have the highest impact for others and for yourself.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, it's that notion of self-leadership and how critical that is to your own fulfillment. So thank you for sharing that. That is so powerful. Where can everyone find you?
Yeah. So if you go to my website, passionfit.com, that is the hub. You can link out to all of my social media channels. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, on TikTok, Threads, and Twitter X. At PassionFit LLC is the handle. And my books are available on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com, and they are in audio, paperback, and ebook formats. And I have a new podcast called Your Power Move by Passion Fit that is coming out this fall. And Erin, as we discussed, I'm so excited to have you on as a guest as well and to continue our conversation and hear more about your thoughts on these topics as well. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. Yes, and I can't wait for that. And I know everyone will be excited to find you, and all of the links will, of course, be in the show notes. So, Reena, thank you so much for being here and just being a breath of fresh air. I mean, your energy and all of your insights are so, so true and so powerful. So, thank you.
Thank you.